I was barely 14 when my life took a turn I hadn't expected. Growing up in a small village in Rajasthan, I was full of dreams. I wanted to study, become a teacher, and change the world beyond our fields. But my family had other plans. One afternoon, without warning, I was told I was to be married to a man named Suraj. I didn't even know his face, let alone his heart. They said he came from a good family, that he had land. That was enough for them. Before I continue this story, make sure subscribe on this channel and let me know where you are watching from in the comments section. The wedding happened fast. My tears were dismissed as childish. My pleas ignored. My parents said, "It's your duty. Girls are born to be wives." Suraj didn't smile on our wedding day. His eyes were hard. I felt like a piece of property passed from one owner to another. The celebrations around me were deafening, but inside, I was screaming. I remember sitting in the bridal chamber, my hands trembling, wondering what I had done to deserve this. He barely spoke to me for the first few days. When he did, his words were commands. I was expected to know everything, how to cook, clean, manage a household. But I was still a child. One night, when I burned the dal, he pushed the plate off the table and stormed out. It was over something small. I had forgotten to iron his shirt. He slapped me so hard I fell to the ground. I tasted blood. I looked up at him, shocked, and he just walked away. No apology. No regret. That was the first time. It wouldn't be the last. I told Ammaji, his mother. She looked at me with pity but said nothing. "Men are like this," she whispered. "Just don't make him angry." The house was big but felt like a cage. Every corner echoed with silence and fear. I started speaking less, moving less, just to avoid triggering him. He found fault in everything. My cooking was bland. My voice was too loud. My walk too slow. Sometimes, he wouldn't talk to me for days. Other times, he would scream, break things. I learned to read the sound of his footsteps, the weight of the door creak, the length of his silence. When I couldn't conceive right away, he accused me of being barren. I was sent to doctors, made to drink bitter herbs. The pressure was unbearable. I began to hate my own body, thinking it had betrayed me. Eventually, I got pregnant. He smiled, once. Just once. But the violence didn't stop. Not even when I was carrying his child. I prayed for a daughter, but I gave birth to a boy. Suraj seemed pleased. I hoped things would change. People thought we were the perfect couple. We appeared at festivals, weddings, always smiling. I mastered the art of hiding bruises with makeup and long sleeves. No one asked questions. No one wanted the truth. Even my own parents would say, "You must adjust. Don't shame us." Ammaji once held my hand and told me about her own marriage. "I was 16 when your father-in-law hit me the first time," she said. "We endure. That's what women do." I looked at her and realized the chain of suffering I was part of. Generations of women living half-lives, filled with pain, justified by custom. I began writing again. In secret. I found old scraps of paper, and I wrote poetry, letters to myself. Words became my escape. I wrote of freedom, of running away, of speaking out. I kept the pages hidden under my mattress. They were the only place where I could scream. Chapter 9, A Stranger Within Me. The birth of my son brought light, but also fear. I saw how Suraj looked at him, with pride, yes, but also with possession. I feared my son would grow into him. I feared he'd become a man who hurt women. I knew I had to protect him. Not just from his father, but from becoming his father. One night, Suraj hit our son. The boy was only 5, and he had dropped a glass. That was all. I lost control. I screamed, pushed Suraj back. He raised his hand to hit me, but this time, I didn't flinch. That night, when everyone slept, I packed a small bag. Chapter 11, The Journey Away. I walked out of that house and never looked back. I went to my parents' home. They were shocked, ashamed. My father shouted, "You can't leave your husband." But I looked him in the eye and said, "Watch me." I filed for divorce. The village gossiped. I was called names. My in-laws came to take my son. I fought back. I found a lawyer who believed in me. I started earning, stitching clothes, tutoring girls. Slowly, I stood on my own feet. The scars didn't fade, but I wore them with pride. They were proof that I had survived. I spoke at women's meetings, shared my story. Other women came forward. We created a small support group. We weren't victims anymore. We were warriors. My son grew into a kind, gentle young man. He saw what I went through and promised to be different. He studied hard, became a lawyer. He said, "I will fight for women like you, Ma." He kept his word. Now, as a grandmother, I tell my story to my granddaughters. I tell them to never be silent. To dream. To fight. To choose love, not fear. I am no longer the girl who was forced into marriage. I am the woman who walked out. The woman who lived. Your past may have been written by others, but your future is yours to reclaim. What they forced upon you doesn't define you, your courage to rise, speak, and survive does. You are not broken, you are unbreakable.